On a foggy night, Chandrasekhar, who is driving his car at high speed, meets with an accident. He walks to a nearby house to ask for assistance. When nobody answers the door, he enters the house and finds the dead body of a wheelchair-using man. Standing nearby is a beautiful, young woman, Rani, with a gun. She tells him that the dead man is her husband and she has murdered him. She asks Chandrasekhar to call the police. Intrigued, Chandrasekhar asks Rani to tell her what happened. She tells him that her husband, Thakur Ranjit Singh, was a cruel man who used to mistreat his family and used to shoot cats and dogs with his gun for amusement, which is why nobody in the house woke up upon hearing the gunshot. On this night, before Chandrasekhar arrived, they had an argument, and when her husband threatened to shoot her, she tried to take the gun away from him. In the ensuing struggle, Ranjit got shot. Udharan. Since the murder is an accidental death and was done in self-defense, Chandrasekhar decides to help Rani. Together, they fake a robbery so that Ranjit's death appears to be case of a theft gone wrong, and more importantly, to suggest that the murder happened at a different time and give Rani an alibi. When the police arrive, Chandrasekhar tells them that he had bumped into a man who had just come out of the house. The man had dropped a gun, which Chandrasekhar hands over to the police. Because it was a foggy night, he says he cannot identify the man. Udharan Chinna. The police start investigating the murder and become convinced that it was committed by an insider, as the thief seems to know his way around the house. Some of the important evidence they find at the crime scene is the dead man's pocket watch, an empty cigar container, and a tea tray which has fingerprints of an unknown person. Police soon find out that the cigar container and fingerprints belong to Suresh Saxena, a prominent lawyer and a friend of the family. Investigation reveals that Suresh was having an affair with Rani. Suresh denies being at the house on the night of the murder and claims to have been at a party that he had thrown. But upon inquiring, the police find out that Suresh had received a phone call from a woman and had subsequently left the party for about an hour. The police inspector shows Suresh's photograph to Chandrasekhar and asks him if Suresh was the man he had run into that night. But Chandrasekhar sticks to his story and says that he cannot positively identify the person. Udharan. Chandrasekhar tells Rani that the police think that Suresh committed the murder. Rani tells him how she first met Suresh when he stopped her from throwing herself off a cliff. Suresh had befriended Ranjit and had become a regular visitor to their house. Rani and Suresh had fallen in love, but their romance was discovered by Ranjit. On the night of the murder, Ranjit got into a furious argument with Rani and threatened to destroy Suresh's budding political career by exposing his affair with a married woman. Rani calls Suresh at his party to warn him. Later that night, when she was taking a shower, she heard Suresh and her husband arguing with each other. By the time Rani came out of the shower, the argument had ended. But a few minutes later, she again heard her husband shout at someone. But the noise of an airplane flying overhead drowned out all voices. By the time she reached downstairs, Suresh had left. She confronted her husband and, in the ensuing struggle, shot him. It is at this point that Chandrasekhar had walked in. The police arrest Suresh and charge him with the murder. At the trial, the public prosecutor explains that the love affair between Suresh and Rani was the motive for the murder. The prosecutor tells the court that Suresh was present in the house at the time of the murder, the phone call and his disappearance from the party for an hour, during which the crime was committed. The prosecutor also establishes that the murder was committed long before Chandrasekhar walked into the house. He presents the dead man's pocket watch as evidence. The watch had stopped working when the fatal bullet hit it and therefore reveals the actual time of murder. A second bullet was fired to mislead the rest of the household about the time of the murder. As the evidence mounts against Suresh, Rani panics and confesses to the murder. She asks the court to bring back Chandrasekhar to the stand so that he can tell the true story. The court is adjourned until next day. That night Chandrasekhar is visited by a nun. As though as the consequence of it the truth is revealed next day in the court. Chandrasekhar is in court to give his testimony and corroborate Rani's story. That she killed Ranjit. The nun is also present. It is revealed that Chandrasekhar knew Ranjit from before. They used to be friends and in business together. Chandrasekhar fell in love with the girl Kiran and was supposed to be married. Ranjit had a lustful eye on Kiran and out of jealousy framed Chandrasekhar in a false case and had him imprisoned for 5 years. After serving his term, he is told Ranjit had raped Kiran and she committed suicide out of shame. Chandrasekhar decided to take his vengeance from Ranjit and kill him. He goes to visit Ranjit and Ranjit was sitting in his chair facing the opposite direction. As Chandrasekhar approached him, he saw to his surprise that Ranjit is now a disabled man. He changes his mind and decided Ranjit's state of being is a worse punishment for him than his death. He spits on Ranjit's face and is about to leave. Ranjit wants to shoot Chandrasekhar and in the brawl the gun is pointed at Ranjit and fires, accidentally killing Ranjit. Chandrasekhar leaves the house and in his car on the way home realizes he had forgotten his wallet at Ranjit's house. He goes back to get it so the wallet doesn't tie him to the murder. He purposely causes his car to have an accident with a tree and fall into a trench. He approaches Ranjit's house under the pretenses that his car had an accident and he wants to use the phone but in the process really to recover his wallet. To his surprise, he finds Rani with the gun in her hand and ready to take the blame for the murder. It is later revealed she was willing to do this because she thought the man who she loved, Suresh, had murdered Ranjit. He couldn't let an innocent take the blame. The court asks Chandrasekhar what evidence he has. The nun stands up and it is revealed she is Kiran, the girl Chandrasekhar loved. She states she had tried to commit suicide but God saved her. And thus she became a nun. The court decides it was self-defense and frees Chandrasekhar and Suresh. Rani and Suresh reunite and Kiran leaves as Chandrasekhar stands watching.